At this time, I would like to ask our IT... Okay, at this time, I would like to ask our IT professionals to start the audio tape recordings of the regular meeting and to admit any members of the public who have chosen to listen to the meeting online, and I'll pause for confirmation.
Okay, the public has been let in and recording has started.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Washington, and I serve as Interim General Counsel and Assistant Secretary of the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, also known as Atlanta Housing. Before the regular meeting is called to order, please consider the following announcements. We welcome the members of the public who have joined us in person at the Roosevelt Hall located at 660 Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard, Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30314, for this regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Atlanta Housing. We also welcome the members of the public who have joined this meeting via audio conference. There's also an option to view the meeting live streamed. Members of the public can find the link in the notices section on the Atlanta Housing website. The live streaming link is also contained on Atlanta Housing board docs. Please be advised that any members of the public who wish to address the board during the time for public comment period must have signed up on the public speaker sign-up sheet at the front door of the meeting room prior to the time of the meeting is called to order, or have sent in a comment by the time set in the notice of that meeting. A link to the meeting agenda, board resolutions, and presentation materials are available for review by the public by accessing the link on the Atlanta Housing website at www.atlantahousing.org/notices.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Kirsch, and I serve as Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners. I will be filling in for Chairman Stewart today. I am now calling this regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, to order. Today is Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, and the time is 2:12 p.m. Will the Interim General Counsel please take roll to determine a quorum for this meeting?
Commissioner Stewart? Commissioner Stewart? Commissioner Kirsch?
Here.
Commissioner Alvarado? Commissioner Alvarado? Commissioner Elliott? Commissioner Faruqi?
Present.
Commissioner Hooker? Commissioner Hooker? Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Madam Vice Chair, there is a quorum present.
Thank you. It's great to be back at Roosevelt Hall. When we were last here, we were celebrating our new president and CEO being approved by the board, and I just want to acknowledge that this is the first formal board meeting. We're so grateful for your leadership and all the great things that we're going to do together. So look forward to hearing from you in a bit. The agenda has been presented to the board for review and comment. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
This has been moved by Commissioner Elliott and seconded by Commissioner Faruqi. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries.
The minutes of the regular Board of Commissioners meeting held on January 24th, 2024 are before the board for review and comment. Are there any proposed corrections to the minutes of the regular Board of Commissioners meeting?
Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held on January 24th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
This has been moved by Commissioner Faruqi and seconded by Commissioner Elliott. Is there any discussion related to the motion to approve the minutes for the January 24th, 2024 meeting? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions, the motion carries. As Ms. Washington shared, members of the public who wish to address the board signed up on the public speaker's sign-up sheet as they entered the meeting. Each speaker who has signed up will be called to the podium and will have 3 minutes to address the board. After those members of the public who are here to speak finish, we will read any questions received in advance via telephone or email. Ms. Washington, have any members of the public signed up to speak?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, we have one member of the public who signed up to speak, Akeem Williams.
All right, Mr. Williams, thank you for coming for us. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hey, how y'all doing? I won't need the full 3 minutes. I just wanted to say thank you all for the work that you all do for the City of Atlanta citizens. I understand that, you all could go through scrutiny and a lot of tough decisions, and I encompass you all to work through it and continue to find affordable housing solutions for the residents of Atlanta. With a lot of commercial real estate investors coming into the city, they are displacing a lot of long-term residents, in which a lot of seniors are being displaced not only because of taxes from the Fulton County millage rate, but also based on them not wanting to do business with AH. I say that because I know a senior who was just displaced right in the SWATs, Southwest Atlanta, of 13 years. She stayed right on Fairburn Road, and she was displaced after 13 years because the property sold, and they no longer wanted to take the housing subsidy voucher, which pushed her outside the city of Atlanta altogether and had to take her voucher to East Point. I say that to say, yes, she found housing. However, she did want to stay within her community, but when she was out searching, it was to no avail that properties wanted to take the housing choice voucher. That's just one of the things, but also be bold and when you come with these innovative ways to look at housing. Sometimes traditional housings may look very differently depending on background, culture, and look at everyone's culture. I mean, this is Atlanta Housing Authority, the best housing authority in the world. I mean, I really do appreciate you all coming here and giving your free time to encompass this board. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Appreciate your comments, and certainly the issue around the housing choice voucher is something that we're keeping an eye on and know is an issue. So thank you. Is anyone else signed up to speak?
No other members of the public have signed up to speak, nor did we receive any comments in advance of the meeting to be presented.
Okay, thank you. This ends the public comment portion of the meeting. At the Board of Commissioners, September 22nd, 2021, I thought that was a typo, but it was in 2021 meeting. The board approved a consent agenda protocol. There are 5 resolutions appearing below that received unanimous votes of approval at the Board of Commissioners Real Estate Committee meeting held on February 21st, 2024. The collective group of resolutions on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion to adopt all resolutions and the affirmative majority vote of the Board of Commissioners. If discussion on any resolution or resolutions is desired by a commissioner, the commissioner must make that desire known to the vice chair immediately following the reading of the consent agenda items. And the resolutions will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately, or at the discretion of the vice chair, a discussion may occur prior to the vote on the consent agenda resolutions. Moreover, if commissioner simply wants to hear her vote to be specifically recorded on any particular item, separate votes may be taken on the resolutions. Will the interim general counsel identify the 5 resolutions on the consent agenda for the record, please?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. Before you are copies of the following consent agenda resolutions. Resolution number 2408, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, seeks approval to take all actions necessary to enter an additional services agreement with Bowen District Developers, LLC, for Bowen Homes stormwater pond installation. Resolution number 2409, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, seeks authorization to enter an additional services agreement with Bowen District Developers, LLC, for Bowen infrastructure design services for phases 1 and 2 residential development. Resolution number 2410, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, seeks authorization to provide a construction permanent loan of $4.1 million in connection with the co-investment program application submitted for the Proctor development. Resolution number 2411, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, seeks authorization to amend the HomeFlex commitment with the Simpson to decrease the HomeFlex unit count from 69 to 39. And Resolution 2412, the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, seeks authorization to amend the settlement agreement of the litigation styled as Grady Redevelopment, LLC, Capital Gateway, LLC, Harris Redevelopment, LLC, and Carver Redevelopment, LLC, versus the Housing Authority of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, et al., and submit amendment requests to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development.
May I have a motion to consider, adopt, and approve the consent agenda containing resolution number 2408, resolution 2409, resolution 2410, resolution 2411, and resolution 2412?
So moved.
It has been moved by Commissioner Faruqi and seconded by Commissioner Elliott. Is there any discussion related to the consent agenda resolutions? Hearing no discussions, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? The motion carries. I would just like to note in regard to the public comment we received that one of the items we just approved does include the property accepting housing choice vouchers, and we recognize that as an issue. It doesn't address the single-family example that was provided by our guests, but this is something that we know is on the minds of the real estate committee and the real estate staff leadership, and is an example of trying to help advance a solution to that challenge. So nice to be able to talk about that today relative to the comment.
Can I make another comment?
Please.
I just want to commend our chair of the real estate committee, who is serving as the chair of this board meeting today. And for those of you who come to the board meeting and see the consent agenda, know that there is a robust conversation that happens between members of the real estate committee, which is a subset of this board, as well as the staff, which comes well prepared to have those conversations. So do know that there's a lot of work, thought, and consideration that goes into what you are seeing being discussed for 3 minutes today. So thank you, Commissioner Kirsch, for your leadership in making this efficient.
My pleasure. I think it's a sign of progress that we're able to move quickly. This concludes the resolutions to be presented to the board at this meeting. I believe our first speaker is Mr. Paul Vraniker on the strategic plan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Paul Vraniker. It's a pleasure to be able to give you an update on the strategic plan. As Commissioner Faruqi had mentioned, quite a bit of work and back and forth on the details of how these things are carried out occurs in committee, and we did have that very robust discussion last week. So for the purposes of this board meeting today, I wanted to give you just some of the highlights specifically focused around Goal 1 for our progress. If you could please do the next slide, Angela. So as a reminder, it was a little bit over a year ago, January of last year, 2023, that this board approved the agency's 5-year strategic plan covering fiscal years 2023 through 2027. The goals you can see here are before you, and we have set up systems for tracking these. As we were designing these, we outlined metrics for benchmarks and progress that we expected to achieve over the course of those 5 years, and now we are in the portion of this that we are tracking it. All of this flows into the MTW planning that you will be seeing next month as we come to you for your approval for our FY 2025 MTW plan, and then 2 months later with the budget. It is all essentially derived through the strategic plan, and my colleagues reminded me earlier today that it's even more detailed. The departmental goals are based off of the strategic plan, and then the individual staff goals are also further derived from those departmental goals. Next slide, please, Angela. So I'm very pleased to report that in nearly every key target and goal, the agency is either ahead of pace, on pace, or will be on pace to meet its strategic objectives by the end of this fiscal year. In particular, with the Goal 1, create or preserve 10,000 affordable housing units. The agency made great strides, particularly in the last quarter, to deliver new affordable units and to preserve affordable units. You can see on the right-hand side of this slide, that breakdown is essentially what we predicted the categories would be at the end of the strategic plan, i.e. the breakdown of that 10,000. And through the second quarter of FY 2024, we had delivered total affordable units of 188 on Atlanta housing land, 143 total affordable units for new home flex, and 105 new home ownership opportunities. And on the preservation side, We renovated 259 units under the rental assistance demonstration and renewed 1,043 units under the HomeFlex program. This is a testament to a lot of different people, obviously the leadership of Terry Lee, our new president and chief executive officer, to push us and be aggressive in our goals, but also in our delivery. And also under Dee Dee Beatty's leadership, Trish O'Connell, Maya Hadari, Mike Wilson, Pat Evans, and many, many others to get us to this point where we are entering a period of the agency's single most productive delivery of housing, certainly in the decade that I've been with the agency, is really a pleasure to be a part of. Next slide, please, Angela. I did want to note here that these sites, most of these are already in active development now and or approaching in the very near future the first phases of active development, and will be in active development by the end of this calendar year. This is a huge portion of our former public housing sites that had been demolished during the Hope 6 era, and that the agency has been planning or trying to figure out how to put into active development for nearly a decade. And some of those sites were begun under Hope 6, but others have been renewed more recently, such as Englewood. And then we had strategic acquisitions in the form of Civic Center that have really been important in the minds of our partner stakeholder organizations and in the minds of the public. So I'm very pleased to announce that these are all underway or likely to be underway in the very near future. Next slide, please. And that is it in terms of the summary. Any questions for the board?
Thank you very much. Really helpful update. I'm curious about how we should think about the 2023 number vis-a-vis the forecast for this year. I'm assuming that this number represents basically the 2024 numbers is going to be a subset of this number, right? Because some of these units are closer to coming online and others will come online the following year or the year after.
Correct.
So help us think about the forecast for this year, whether in calendar year terms or fiscal year terms, whatever makes the most sense.
In terms of the calendar year for the remaining closings, well, let me put it this way, because I did it for the MTW stakeholder briefing, and I don't have to guess. During fiscal year 2025, the agency will have, at some point during July 1 of this year through June 30 of next year, the agency will have approximately 3,000 units under construction.
I hope everybody heard that. The number is 30,000.
3,000.
Okay. What did I miss? Was I sleeping? Was I under a rock? Thank you. So 3,300 units. Is that what you said?
3,000, and these are snapshots because fiscal years, right now we have certain things that are close to delivering by the end of this fiscal year. So that doesn't include close to 800 HomeFlex and other affordable units that are delivering before the end of this year. That doesn't include new home ownership opportunities that will occur between now and June 30. So again, that's just that snapshot of July 1 through June 30 of next year between the different RAD preservation deals, the construction on Atlanta housing land, the co-investment, and the three primarily new HomeFlex and other affordable deals. That's essentially that 3,000 units.
And then I apologize, I'm just trying to clarify. So that 3,000 number includes this 2,000, right? Which is the upcoming.
A portion of it, yes, because that 2023 number is just those sites that you see on that piece of paper. So it doesn't
Understand.
include, for example.
Others that will be additive, right?
Correct. And it's only during the strategic plan period.
Got it.
Because Civic Center, for example, has a phase that's delivering after the strategic plan period. Bowen has a phase that's delivering after the strategic plan period. So the 2023 that you see there is just between fiscal year 2023 and fiscal year 2027.
Got it. This page gives a lot of clarity, this one that sort of talks about what's coming up. I think one thing that'll be helpful in the next update is for us to understand kind of, I'm going to say waterfall, but kind of sort of what is additive, right? So that we're not double counting and overlapping, but we also have the picture of the full pipeline. So there were units that came online just before the strategic plan was adopted. The units that will come online during the strategic plan, and what are those from a, that you're able to add them up perspective. And then there are units which we know are going to come online, like the Civic Center, past our strategic plan period.
Yes.
So I think just understanding that whole pipeline is going to be super helpful. I mean, you have all the data. It's just so that we're not double counting and we're not undercounting, if that makes sense.
Yes. We have gone to great pains to make sure that we are not double counting.
No, I
and in
understand.
fact, we have been so precise in our definitions that this excludes certain things that are not under construction yet, but they technically closed before the strategic plan period.
Exactly.
So,
And part of the reason why I say that is because the volume of all of that is work that is being focused on by the agency today. So, there are units that are coming online, but we are seeding affordable housing, opportunities, investments, and units for the future, and that work is also happening today. So I think painting that picture for the public as well is probably helpful, and I'm happy to sort of offline, help think about how we represent that. But that whole body of work, units that came online before the strategic plan, but we're involved in supporting, whether they're senior residential developments or others, the units that are actively going to be coming online today. But if the agency doesn't do the work that it needs to do thinking ahead, the end of the strategic plan should not feel like the end of an era, So anyway, so I hope that contextualizes the questions, but this is super helpful as a start.
No, absolutely, Commissioner Faruqi, and that context is very helpful. I will tell you, to echo Paul's sentiments, we have gone through a very painstaking exercise to make sure we reconciled in two ways. One, if you recall, our strategic plan technically was adopted after this mayor's term began. And so we reconciled, one, as to all the units that were created within the calendar year to be consistent with the mayor's terms. And then secondly, looking at the actual adoption of the strategic plan and the strategic plan period. We also, on a quarterly basis are reforecasting to make sure that we're capturing projects that may not close or the closing date actually shifts. So I think that full picture you're speaking of is one that we look at internally, and it would be helpful to have your insight, but also for us to be able to paint that picture publicly as well.
Exactly, and if I can help sort of put that together, I can give you some ideas on how to do that. But that would be great, and I think it'll better represent the work of the agency today. So, yeah, thank you.
yeah, and for
Thank
example,
you.
the board approving the Proctor today, that's not in our reforecast technically because it wasn't approved by the board. And so that's additive to the supply, and that's the process we work.
So that brings a question. The land at Central Parkway and North Avenue, that's not included in this.
Yes, sir. So that particular parcel, we're speaking of the parcel that's adjacent to Cosby Spear? Okay. That particular parcel we had is what we call a Tier 2 parcel, and we have an active RFP out for redevelopment, for development of that vacant site now. So from a numbers standpoint, it's not included in the numbers that Paul represented. However, it is included in our planning process because it's our desire to select a developer within this plan period, the strategic plan period.
So on balance, I'm hearing even upside to these numbers, right? I mean, that's
right.
3,000 under construction is a remarkable number for next fiscal year. So, congratulations to everyone in the agency for everything that it takes to deliver on that. And the fact that we know, there could be closings that could happen next year that aren't even at the pace that everyone's working, that aren't even represented here. So really exceptional. Thank you all.
Thank you, and if I could thank my team, Adelaide, Ayana, and especially Sam Braverman, because as I said last week, this is a very important thing to do, but it's not always the funnest part of our job. And I'm sorry, we're having fun. We're having fun overall. But,
we love data. Data is our friend.
Big fun.
They have made it. They have made it. They've made it a lot less. A lot more fun, put it that way.
Excellent. We appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from fellow commissioners? All right. Thank you, Mr. Broniker. Terrific work. We have a report from the President and CEO.
Yes, Madam Chair. So while we're pulling up the slides, I will tell you I'm having fun. Big fun, Paul.
If you need some more data geeks, we can send you some.
So I'm an undercover data geek myself. So I think the team is beginning to realize that. But I am so pleased to stand before you today just to provide an update, a CEO update on the work of Atlanta Housing. I would be remiss if I did not thank each of you for your leadership, as well as your support. You show up not just on committee days or board days, but quite honestly, you show up every day and you answer our call. And so we appreciate that. We also appreciate you showing up when there is an opportunity to celebrate the great work that the team is doing. So thank you so much. And I also want to thank the team. I have officially been in this role since February 12th, and we have shifted. And that shift, I think, is fun, but I also believe it's impactful. And the results of that you've seen through Paul's presentation, but also I think you will see it more and more as we continue. The goal that we have is to have as many residential closings this year as we possibly can, so that we can have shovels in the ground in 2025. That was really the theme that we shared on yesterday with the Community Development and Human Services Committee when we provided a quarterly update for Atlanta Housing. To show that we are really serious about it, we were the recipient of 9 4% tax-exempt bond awards from Department of Community Affairs. That deserves a round of applause for Atlanta. Those 9 projects represent a total of over 1,500 units, with more than 800 of those units being affordable, and we're speaking of a total development cost of about $422 million. To put it into context, when you think about what literally the slide that Paul showed on the projects under Tier 1, one of the projects that was funded was the first phase of Civic Center. So we will close on the first phase of Civic Center later this fall. The second was phase 3 of Herndon Homes. So we're doing a groundbreaking on March 14th for phase 2, but we will be able to, we'll be able to immediately follow with phase 3. Another one is my favorite, Bowen Homes. We are, clearly we have a mandate by HUD to be able to go under closing by October, but we have more than a mandate. We actually have funding to move forward with those projects. And in addition to the development activity, some of our preservation projects were also funded. And so when we talk about the opportunity of developing and increasing the supply of our housing, but also preserving the opportunity of our existing housing stock, that's evidenced by the work that we're doing. The team is working right now to understand every step that needs to be taken in order to move those projects to a closing by the end of December 31st. Not January 1, December 31st, because it is very important that we move forward and move forward quickly. And I dare say that's probably the largest allocation that Atlanta Housing has received in the last 10 years or more from the Department of Community Affairs. I would also like to share with you that people from around the country are actively looking at our work. I had an opportunity, along with John Majors with the Atlanta Urban Development Corporation, to participate in a panel discussion with students from the Harvard Graduate School of Design. We spent one day in Cambridge really talking about the role of the public developer. And the fact that if affordability will be addressed and captured in this environment, that the public sector will have to lead that charge. In addition to us going up to Harvard, we were able to welcome the students the following week here at Roosevelt Hall to really give them a real-life example of what happens when the public sector does come together to move forward with public land development. So that is really, really exciting for us because our work is being talked about across the country, but also it's even more exciting because we're able to learn from other housing authorities about innovative strategies that they're doing as well. What I would also like to thank you for is today's board meeting. Through your actions today, we did three major things. One, we increased the supply of affordable housing by 276 units. Of those 276 units, we're looking at about a 65% affordability, with 180 of those units being affordable. Secondly, we were innovative. This was the first time as an agency we utilized tenant-based vouchers as part of a capital stack to get a development transaction completed. And so we secured the use of 41 units from a long-term affordability aspect without having to provide additional subsidy up front. That is huge, and that's a first for us. And then lastly, but again very important, is we're moving forward with Bowen Homes. Two of your actions that were on the consent agenda actually approve infrastructure funding for us to start the first phase for Bowen Homes. That infrastructure funding was in the amount of $1,219,000. And what's really great about it is only $219,000 came from Atlanta Housing. $1 million was invested by the City of Atlanta. And so that speaks to the partnership and the alignment that we have with the City of Atlanta. And last but definitely not least, I want to wish Mama Bridges a happy birthday. Mama Bridges is the second oldest resident for Atlanta Housing. She will turn 103 on March 21st. Every year, we usually have a really big birthday party. Last year, we were blessed to have Dr. Bernice King come because Mama Bridges said she had two things she wanted. She wanted a hot dog from the varsity, a hot dog from the varsity, and she wanted to see Dr. Bernice King, and we were able to accomplish both. And so we were really, really excited about that. We were looking forward to the birthday party this year, but due to health reasons and health concerns, we will have a virtual celebration. So we will make sure that all the announcements are shared, that the board members have that information so that you too can participate in any grand openings as well as birthday celebrations we have. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. It's sort of remarkable when you think about all of the partnerships you just mentioned that that are making all of this work possible, and certainly fitting to end with celebrating a amazing birthday. So on behalf of the board, a very happy birthday to Mama Bridges. I think that concludes any other comments from our commissioners before we close this meeting? All right, if there's no further business of this board, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
It has been moved by Commissioner Faruqi and seconded by Commissioner Elliott. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. This meeting is adjourned at 2:43 p.m. Thank you all.